Before I ask anyone to understand what my daughter went through, I need to honor the people who didn't make it, because their stories matter too. Their lives matter, and their deaths were preventable. First, J. Michael Mitchell, 24 years old, a young black man from Portsmouth who had been in jail for weeks. He wasn't doing well. He was losing weight. He was deteriorating. The jail staff became so concerned about his condition that they took him to Bon Secours Mercy Health. He refused care. That's what the documentation says. And he was discharged. But when he got back to the jail, the officers immediately recognized he could not make decisions for himself. They saw what any clinician or parent with eyes could see. He didn't have capacity. So they requested a psychiatric evaluation. The evaluation said he needed to be transferred to a behavioral health hospital. But the transfer order sat on a caseworker's desk. It wasn't acted on. And by the time anyone found it, J. Michael was already dead. Next, Kendra Nelson, 23 years old. She went to Bon Secours Mercy Health in heroin withdrawal, sick, vulnerable, needing help. She was turned away. She died the next day in a wheelchair outside the Portsmouth Jail's medical unit. Another life lost, another young black life, another preventable death. And then there's my daughter. She didn't die, but she could have. She walked into that ER in the middle of a manic and paranoid episode. She wasn't thinking clearly. She wasn't capable of making safe decisions. She said she didn't want to stay. Just like J. Michael said he didn't want treatment. But she didn't have the capacity to understand what she was saying. The only difference is that she went home to a neurologist mama and an auntie who's an ICU nurse who monitored her every minute. J. Michael went back to a jail. Kendra went back to the streets. My daughter went home to medical professionals who refused to let her out of their sight. That is the only reason she survived, and they didn't. And that's why I didn't just file a medical board complaint. I didn't just file a civil grievance. I didn't just say, well, this is my practice. Because this is not just a hospital issue. It's not just an ER issue. It's not just an administrative problem. It's a public health issue. It's about the safety of people in Portsmouth. It's about the lives of the most vulnerable. It's about a pattern that keeps repeating itself and killing people. So I went to the Commonwealth's attorney office in person, and I spoke to an assistant attorney there. And she told me this sounded like a civil matter. I looked her in her eyes and said, no, this is not civil. This is a pattern of harm. This is about the people who didn't survive. And if what happened to my daughter is documented falsely, then that is a crime. And I watched her face change. I watched her truly hear me. For the first time, someone in authority understood what I had been saying all along. She said, get the records, and if there is evidence the records were falsified, I will help you press charges. That moment mattered because it told me that this is bigger than my family, bigger than my daughter, bigger than my job, bigger than any retaliation I face. So I'm speaking for J. Michael. I'm speaking for Kendra. I'm speaking for my daughter, and for every family who never got answers, for every patient who didn't have an advocate, for every person who could not speak for themselves.